Welcome to the fourth week of Developmental Psychology Online, and it is always good to see you. This is particularly an exciting week for me because we're reading about procreation and the actual, not act of having the child, but pregnancy and all. And so I would like to remind you, draw your attention back to the importance of this relationship between parent and child that's developing even in the time of the in utero time. Um, so last week you had an opportunity to see the video about pregnancy and to think about those things. And it's always like Tracy said, I think there's always new things to learn about this. This might even be something that a lot of you have already taken part in. Well, all of us have taken part in it because we were in utero at some point in our development. But I think it's also something that maybe people who already have children, they kind of look back and they didn't quite realize all of the nuts and bolts of it, or sperm and eggs of it, or whatever you want to call it. Um, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be perverted or anything, but it is exciting, really, to think about this. And I pulled out two things I thought that were very interesting. You talk about the purpose of people, and Sarah talked about the amazing purpose to procreate, how we are designed really to be able to procreate, to propagate our species. And then Mackenzie, you made an interesting point about the purpose to find a mate, that we have this purpose to find someone with whom to have children, and there is something to that. Certainly, as a psychologist, that is an enthralling procedure. That's a great question to think about. And then you look at the whole process and you say, it is really amazing that any of us were ever came about in the first place, because if you think about all of the obstacles that the sperm have to overcome, all of the complexity really of the whole matter, it's amazing really that any children actually survive to be to the birth part. But it is wonderful, and I think the wonderful and the complex and the hardships and all of that really make to give us something, come together to give us something that's really important, and that is that as human beings we have this essential, innate value as people, because we obviously come from difficult circumstances, and that to me tells me that we have that value. So keep that in mind as we are continuing along. I think this week we're reading about infancy and infant development, physically and cognitively, and how exciting that is to think about. This is the first time that we really will be exposed to a bigger world, and we develop because of our exposure to that big world. And that exposure to that big world is actually physically affecting our development. So keep that stuff in mind. And it's been great to see you, and I hope you have a wonderful week, fourth week of this class.